buried beneath layers of silt and time. There lies a silence that has lasted for 4,000 years. We stand in the ruins of a metropolis that should not exist. A city of grid-patterned streets, multi-story homes, and sophisticated plumbing, built when most of the world was still living in mud huts. This was the Indus Valley civilization. At its peak, it spanned 1 million square kilometers, larger than ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia combined. 5 million people lived here. In the Bronze Age, that was 10% of the entire human population. They were the masters of the river, the architects of the impossible, and then they vanished. How does a civilization of such magnitude simply cease to be? The answer does not lie in a war, but in the earth and sky itself. To understand the collapse, we must first understand the miracle. The Indus civilization, or the Harappans, were an anomaly of the ancient world. Look at their cities. In Egypt, the monuments were built for the dead pharaohs. In Mesopotamia, ziggurats rose for the angry gods. But here, the grandest structure was not a palace, nor a temple. It was a public bath. They were obsessed not with conquest, but with water. Every house had access to a drainage system superior to anything seen in Europe until the 20th century. But the true genius lay in their standardization. A brick fired in Harappa was the exact same ratio, 4:2:1, as a brick fired 400 miles away in Mohenjo-daro. This suggests a society of immense order. No glorification of kings, no statues of conquerors, a seemingly egalitarian utopia fueled by trade. They were known to the Sumerians as Maloa, the land of carnelian, lapis lazuli, and exotic wood. They were the economic engine of the Bronze Age. They seemed invincible, but around 1900 BCE, the heartbeat of these cities began to falter. The sewers clogged. The Great Bath was filled in with trash. Grand houses were subdivided into cramped tenements. For decades, historians believed they were murdered. Early 20th century archaeologists found skeletons in the streets and declared that Indus stands accused, that a violent invasion of Aryan charioteers wiped them out. We now know this is a myth. Modern forensics tell a different, more tragic story. The bones show no signs of battle trauma. Instead, they show the pitting of anemia, the ravages of malaria, and the weariness of malnutrition. They weren't killed by swords. They were killed by a slow, grinding collapse of their environment. The killer was not human. It was geological. Satellite imagery has revealed the ghost of a massive river system that once flowed parallel to the Indus, the Gagar-Hakra, often identified with the legendary Saraswati. Tectonic shifts in the Himalayas likely diverted the glacial meltwater that fed this lifeline, redirecting it toward the Ganges in the east. The river that sustained the heart of the civilization simply stopped flowing. Simultaneously, the world was hit by a catastrophe known as the 4.2 kiloyear event, a global megadrought that toppled empires from Egypt to China. The Indian monsoon, the heartbeat of South Asian agriculture, weakened dramatically. The rains failed. The surplus of grain that supported the artists, the bricklayers, and the merchants evaporated. The complex urban machinery could no longer be fed. And so, the people did the only thing they could. They walked away. It was a de-urbanization. They abandoned the great cities of brick and dispersed into small, rural villages in the east and south. They traded their cosmopolitan lives for survival. The grid system was forgotten. The sewage pipes were buried. The script was silenced. But they did not go extinct. The people of the Indus are the ancestors of the people of South Asia today. Their DNA lives on. Their farming techniques, cultivating rice and cotton, are still practiced in these very fields. Yet, one tragedy remains. Unlike Egypt or Mesopotamia, we have never cracked their code. We gaze upon their seals, their symbols, their messages, but we cannot read them. We know how they built, how they traded, and ultimately, how they fell. But we still do not know who they were, in their own words. They are the ghosts of the industry, and they are still waiting to be heard.